Greetings, fellow Slayers. Welcome to Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 4. Now I get you on with the episode Fear Itself. While crafting jack-o'-lanterns in Xander's basement, the gang discuss their plans for Halloween, while Buffy continues to mope over her situation with Parker. They decide to go to the Alpha Delta house for Halloween party. Buffy leaves early. On her way home, a kid wearing a demon mask jumps out at her, and she hits him without thinking. He asks her what's wrong with her and then takes off. Not getting to your Buffy's reply, "That's what I'd like to know." The next day at school, Buffy and Alice express their concerns for Willow about her magic. Buffy spots Parker and runs away because she doesn't want to face him. Willow follows and tells her to get over it and have fun at the party that night. However, Buffy thinks that Giles will want her to do some patrolling. Much to Buffy's surprise, however, when she goes to visit Giles, he's wearing a sombrero and is in a cheerful Halloween mood. Reminding her that demons are generally quiescent on Halloween, he encourages her to go to the party and have fun. At the fraternity house, the boys are getting ready for the party. One of them gives another an old book that he found a symbol and to paint on the floor. Anya goes to see Xander again and wants to know where their relationship is heading. He agrees that they're somewhat dating and invites her to the Halloween party that night, telling her to dress in something scary. Buffy visits Professor Walsh and asks for her missed assignments, but she's met with less than kind reception from the strict teacher. Riley, however, gives her the assignment. When she says she'll get them done that night, he tells her that, since it's Halloween, she should go out and have fun instead. He tells her that Halloween is the night when all the monsters come out, and she replies that's a misnomer. Alice and Xander carry the equipment for a sound system to the fraternity house, and Alice installs it while the guy who got the book earlier paints a symbol on the ground. Xander asks what the symbol represents, and the guy says he doesn't know. It's just supposed to be scary. Oz, listening to the speakers, says the left one is crackling. He goes to strip a wire a little bit and cuts his hand. While he walks by to go and clean it, some of his blood spills onto the symbol, making a pulsing waver ominously. A plastic spire laying in the circle suddenly turns into a real tarantula. Joyce alters one of Buffy's old costumes, Little Red Riding Hood. Jack, one of the things used to be with her dad around in her mom's current social life. When Joyce talks about how Hank used to love going trick-or-treating with her, Buffy comments that she's not interested in her anymore. Buffy comments that he's not interested in her anymore. Joyce tells her that their divorce really did have nothing to do with Buffy. Buffy acknowledges that she knows that's true, but she wishes he still took an interest in her now. At the party, a guy leads a blindfolded girl to stick her hand into a bowl of grapes and tells her the grapes inside are eyeballs. When she takes the blindfold off, they really are eyeballs. She screams and Pandemonium takes control over everyone around them. Buffy waits outside for the party for her friends. Xander shows up asking what she's got in her basket. She replies, "Weapons." Buffy comments on his nice tux, and Xander says he's dressed as James Bond. He makes me sure that if they change their costumes again, he'll at least be cool. Buffy points out that if that happens, he'd probably just turn into cool head waiter guy instead. He says, as long as he's cool and has some kind of power, he'll be happy. Willow and Oz show up. Willow, who's dressed as Joan of Arc, states that they have a lot in common since she was almost burned at the stake and had a close relationship with God. When Xander asks who Oz is, he pulls his shirt aside to show his sticker name tag that says, "Hello, my name is," with the word God written under it. Cyril admits that he could have done the same thing and wishes he'd known that before he went to the tux. They start moving towards the fraternity house, only for a couple of masked soldiers in camouflage holding guns silently come out of the bushes and move past them. Buffy tells them that their costumes are nice and very stealthy. Willow asks who they're supposed to be, and Xander suggests NATO. Xander tells the group that he invited Anya, but she's having a hard time finding a costume. Buffy comments about being the only one without a date. Aww. Everything in the party goes crazy as people run in all directions screaming, some ending mutilated and injured in various ways. The lights are flashing with a strobe light, making everything even more chaotic. A girl lying bleeding on the sofa opens her eyes and looks around. Several people try to escape, only for the door to slam before they can get out. One of the frat guys comes running down the stairs screaming for help and trips, landing at the bottom of the stairs with a broken neck. A deep voice demands to be released. The gang make their way to the front door, the house peaceful from the outside. Once inside, once they're inside, they wonder where everyone is. Oz tells them to follow the arrows. Will gets cut some cobwebs and wigs out. Xander's standing in the hallway when a plastic skeleton with a knife pops out. Lord Bree started hauling obstacles to Oz turns around and sees a tarantula on Willow's shoulder. He goes over and knocks it off quickly, but Willow is still creeped out. Buffy says they just get to the party part of the party. Walking down the next hallway, they get confused because it's not leading to where it should. Buffy finds real blood on the carpet, which general implies that the frat boys have gone overboard. Buffy shushes them because she hears a squeaking and, when they look up, does as the real bats attack them. However, as soon as they stop, Oz finds one of them and it's only rubber. They all wonder what's going on when the same deep voice from before demands to be released. Anya arrives at the party, dressed as a big pink and white bunny, but she's able to get in as the front door has disappeared. As she walks around to the front, she sees a girl screaming in a window, and the window breaks over on its own. Inside, unable to get out of the house, Buffy tells the gang to find a way out and to get help. They find Chaz, one of the fraternity members, in a closet saying that it's alive. A skeleton attacks Buffy from behind with a knife, but she destroys it and it becomes fake again. Chaz goes back to the closet, and when they turn to look, the closet is now gone. Anya goes to Jaws for help, saying they need to save Xander. Jaws asks about the others, but she says they're trapped too, but they need to save Xander. Xander tries to talk to Buffy and the gang, finds that he's invisible to them as they all completely ignore him. Buffy will fight over Buffy giving orders and then over whether Willow can safely do a guiding spell to lead the way. Willow and Oz, who go off on their own to find a way out, find a set of stairs and head up. As they're walking, Oz starts his werewolf transformation, scratches Willow before running away from her. Xander approaches the mirror and, along with his reflection, a once fake head on the table behind him says that he can see him too. Oz sits in a bathtub, chanting over and over that he isn't going to change. Willow conjures a spell to find Aradia, the goddess of the lost. The spell, however, gets out of control and she screams for help as it attacks her. Buffy, hearing Willow's cries, tries to get to her, but instead it falls into the basement. The nets are coming up from the ground and grabbing her. The frat guy with the broken neck tells Buffy that she will keep fighting, but always end up in the same place. Meanwhile, Giles and Anya are unable to find a way in, so Giles pulls out a chainsaw and cuts the door into the house. In their frenzied attempts to escape their fears that have somehow come true, all the gang runs into the goat room, which is where the party actually was, and things seem back to normal. From a book left beside the sign on the floor, they determine it's the mark of Gagnar. Giles and Anya then break into the room with a chainsaw, seeing the walls close up behind them. Buffy starts a symbol for Giles can tell her that destroying the symbol will bring the Gagnar forth. But, as the demon has manifested itself, it turns out he is mere inches in height. After a laugh, Buffy simply squashes him with her shoe. At Giles' place, Xander questions Anya's bunny costume while they eat candy. After a minute, Giles discovers his mistake. The small picture of Gagnar in the book had a Gaelic inscription reading, "actual size." Wow. So anyway, let's take a look at some continuity surrounding this episode. When Xander, Willow, and Oz knows that Buffy's very down because of Parker, Xander asks if anyone wants to smack that guy, and they all raise their hands. Boosh goes through and Buffy bashes him over the head twice with a club and beer bat, and really punches him in the initiative. Oz expresses worry over Willow's desire to experiment more magic. Tara later expressed concerns about Willow's freaking use of magic in All the Way, which should grow to dependence and corruption. This episode marks Buffy's first contact with Initiative commandos, though she mistakes them for people simply wearing military costumes. She's been questioning these repeated sightings and wild at heart. Willow references the events of Gingerbread when comparing the fact that both she and Joan of Arc were tied and said to be burned at the stake. Joyce mentions her first boyfriend Sunnydale, Ted Buchanan. This episode features the first time Anya mentions her phobia of bunnies, which will be a running gag present in the episodes The Gift, What's Our Feeling, Tabula Rasa, and Chosen. This is the seventh and last episode of the series without any vampires, following Witch, The Pack, I, Robot Eugene, The Puppet Show, Inca Mummy Girl, and Living Conditions. Okay then. So anyway, now let's take a look at some production notes from this episode. Excuse me. The title, Fear Itself, is a reference to Franklin D. Roosevelt's famous "The only thing you have to fear is fear itself" speech from 1933. This episode is the second of 3 Halloween-themed episodes. A Halloween episode occurs every second season of Buffy, previously season 2 with Halloween, and later in season 6 with All the Way. The external shots of the frat house are for the Rosenheim mansion, the same that would be used as the murder house in American Horror Story. The book Edward shows Joss is a 1963 edition of the real book Picture Museum of Sorcery, Magic, and Alchemy by Emile Gorlot de Gervy, sorry if I mispronounced that, originally published in 1929, with the scissor and interior adapted into the prop used in the series. The actual text in the first book says, "A special post route will open in Dublin today despite reports that it may cause traffic congestion as a result." For this episode onward, Mark Blucas will appear regularly until the episode Into the Woods. He will not be added as the main character of the cast until this season's Doomed. Darislav, the actor who portrays Willow's hallmate, also portrays George in the Angel episodes The Thin Dead Line and Belonging. And now let's take a look at some pop culture references. Xander is appalled to find that he mistakenly rented Fantasia instead of Phantasm for movie night. When delivering the sound system, Oz says, "Mi casa es su casio," a play on the Spanish phrase, "Mi casa es su casa," my house is your house, referencing the electronics company Casio. Xander repeats the line from Star Wars Oz as he frowns at the speakers, sensing a disturbance of the Force Master. Buffy sees her the father took her trick-or-treating because he wanted the candy and used her as a beard, a slang term used to describe someone pretending to fail the world in order to assist someone with a deception. When Giles says, "It's alive," he is referring to the film Frankenstein. Buffy's dressed as Little Red Riding Hood, Xander as James Bond, and Willow as Joan of Arc. When Josh tricks a blindfolded Rachel into believing that peeled grapes in a bowl are actually eyeballs, he says, "Eyeballs, Rachel, they're eyeballs." Because of the effect Gaknar is having on everyone in the frat house, when Rachel moves her blindfold, she sees the grapes as eyeballs. Josh's line may be an allusion to a similar line from the Cult of Vampire film The Lost Boys, when one character says to the other, "Maggots, Michael, you're eating maggots. How do they taste?" During that scene, much like Gaknar, David was creating illusion to trick Michael into believing the rice he was eating was actually maggots. And now finally, let's take a look at a goof from this episode. Buffy tells Riley that the notion that Halloween is the night when the ghosts and goblins come out is a misnomer. A misnomer is an inaccurate name or misuse of a name. The word she should have used is misconception. So overall, I think this episode is pretty good, and I do love a Halloween themed episode because those episodes are just, I don't know, so good in an interesting way. So yeah. So overall, I give Fear Itself 4 vampire steaks out of 5. When we tune in a bit as we tackle the next episode, Beer Bad. So, until then, here endeth the lesson.